So for those of you who don't know, I've lived in Ukraine for the last 11 years. In fact, I was here when the full-scale invasion began. Since then, I've worked in volunteer kitchens to help make food for soldiers. I've made jerky as part of sort of corny American-themed care packages that I've sent to contacts at the front, and I've also donated to initiatives all over the country. Recently, one of these initiatives, facilitated by Freedom Friends, I'll put a link in the description if you're curious, allowed me to personally deliver this material. The only caveat was that this would be at the front in Russia. So of course I agreed. The only thing that I wanted to add to this was I really wanted to cook for soldiers at the front. This is something that I'd wanted to do for years. So I immediately started making a batch of jerky because it's shelf stable, it's very popular, but I only had about 3 days to prepare. So what was I going to cook? My first thought was chili con carne. It's scalable, it's hearty, it's filling, it's flavorful. It's something that I've made several times, and it's one of my personal favorites.
It's probably the thing I do best.
However, upon reflection, I remembered that the Slavic stomach can be a little bit sensitive to heat and spice and black pepper, so chili con carne may have been a mistake. I didn't want to be an unwitting agent of Russian chaos unleashing a Tex-Mex themed biological weapon across the front. So I decided instead to make something that I'd eaten hundreds of times but never actually made, and that is chicken and dumplings. It's filling, it's hearty, and it's totally innocuous. So I put together a sort of mobile kitchen that would allow me to cook in very minimalistic conditions, and without knowing where or for who or how I was going to cook this, we departed for our first destination, Sumy.
So here we are in Sumy, making some good stuff for the evening and for tomorrow. How do you like Sumy?
Sumy is a little underdeveloped, maybe, but it's cool to see it's still so active considering the current situation is a bit negative. So for the ZSU, I'm going to make a Great Depression classic, chicken and dumplings, a very famous dish from the South. So I am cooking in the smallest kitchen in Sumy so that we can prepare chicken dumplings to take to the front. I spilled smetana on the floor. So here I have the darker meat, higher fat content chicken rendering in here because I can't roast it. I would like to roast it with some aromatics, onions, things, keeping some of the other things. I could have the legs in, but want to keep those whole as well. Just rendering some fat, getting some Maillard reactions. Going to peel and cut, break down all the veggies, throw in all the bits into here, and then just add water to make stock. So just realize that instead of fishing out all of these little scraps, we don't have a sieve here. So I'm going to just put whole pieces in and throw the scraps away. I'm sorry, Grandma. So I have added water. I've added the end of the celery, some whole carrots. Also going to add garlic with the top cut off. Now I'm going to add the rest of the chicken and then more water, and then just sort of let this simmer forever. Then whenever that's done, I'm going to clean this out, pull the chicken apart, and then start making dumplings. So yep, celery about the same as the carrots. A little bit more than this would have been good to sort of match the ratio of the carrots. I'll do the same to the onions, a bit closer to cooking. So soup's coming together. Probably another 40 minutes, and then I'll start making the dumplings. You hear the air alarms? Okay, so I don't have a sieve or another pot, so I am filtering out the soup through a silverware container into 3 separate smaller containers. I'm going to clean this out, put the pan on, make the roux, and then put everything back together, and then add dumplings. First I have to pull this chicken apart, but most of that is waste. Okay, so onions are diced, butter is browned, veggies are going in. Okay, so I've cooked on the carrots, the celery, the onions. I've added some stock, a lot of butter, some flour to make a bit of a roux. I'm going to let this cook down till it's a bit soft but still crispy, and then I'm going to add it to the stock.
So what we are doing now?
Alright, so the roux is inside with the broth. I separated and pulled the chicken. Now I'm putting in the lazy dumplings. So a lot of the new recipes have big, plump, huge dumplings, and I've never had that before. Mine were kind of like German Spätzle or something. So that's what we're doing here. We're just adding it in, letting it boil in, and then once it's set for around 20 minutes, then we'll have dinner.
Smells delicious.
Now that the food is ready, we all sit down to eat. We talk about life, the future, the war. A lot of the things that we discussed or the things that I saw, I can't talk about or share because of OPSEC and various restrictions. But we really had a great conversation, and they seemed at least nominally impressed with my Ukrainian. Тому що, якщо ви не знали, я дуже гарно розмовляю по-українською мову. So it was a really great night. However, in between then and when we went to sleep, we were bombed by Russia. This is a quite common occurrence. This actually happens daily in Ukraine, so I'm going to include the footage that I can of that. And I think that it's really important to sort of view it, even if it might be a little bit shocking. And I would also say to sort of put yourself in this situation. This is the reality that Ukrainians live in every day. How would you react to this being your daily life?
Shahid. Shahid. Я чую.
Okay, so after dinner last night, this is what we have left. It's still pretty substantial, but not nearly as much as I was hoping for. And it is way more a chicken soup than chicken and dumplings. But the guys seem to like it, so we're going to transfer it to these thermal containers and then take it out to the front. Also, I made a couple kilograms of homemade jerky. And the guys that came over last night did a number on it, but there's still some left. So I'll take this to the front as well. After this, we left for Russia. Obviously, I wasn't able to film very much from this point forward, but let's just say that the amount of manpower, machinery, and organization that I saw there was truly impressive. We planned on going into Suja and sort of eating with the soldiers and talking with them a bit more. But due to increased bombardment and heavy drone activity, we were advised to leave sooner. So we went into Russia, made our delivery, of course leaving the soup and jerky with soldiers as well, and then departed back for Ukraine. Of course, stopping along the way for a photo op, as is what you do.
So what do? Something very silly. You freeze, and your life doesn't flash before you because you're too fucking scared to think. You just freeze and pull a stupid face.
Overall, that was my experience in Russia. I would say that it was incredibly nerve-wracking, but very enlightening. Obviously, the materials that we brought were very useful for the soldiers at the front, but I also hope that my presence there was a bit of a morale boost, sort of a symbol of international support. Even if, in this case, international support is just a fat guy with 2 buckets of chicken and dumplings. So overall, that was my experience in Russia. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment. But I will leave you with this thank you video that I got from one of the soldiers that I fed at the front. Thanks, guys.
Бажаю здоров'я. На зв'язку 80-та бригада. 80-та бригада висловлює щиросердечну подяку Меттію за приготування чудової американської страви, яка поєднує в собі купу овочів, курятину і тісто. Дуже вам дякую. Разом до перемоги.